О, если б знала ты, что мне нужна только ты одна.
What if the greatest voice in the world was also the most misunderstood? He doesn't just sing, he defies nature. Dimash steps on stage and suddenly physics feels optional. 5 octaves, flawless tone, effortless power. But behind that supernatural control, there's a different kind of story, one that's rarely told. In this video, we're unfolding the layers on the man behind the myth. From a prodigy raised in Kazakhstan to a global icon carefully protected by silence, we're diving into the unspoken truth, the pressure, the persona, and the price of being too perfect for your own good. Because what's the cost of never missing a note? Behind the impossible range, behind the viral gasps and standing ovations, lies a narrative that's rarely explored. This isn't just the tale of a gifted vocalist. We're not just here to applaud his vocal feats. We're here to ask the harder questions about artistry, about identity, and about the quiet truths hidden behind the loudest notes. He was born in Aktobe, Kazakhstan in 1994, the son of 2 musicians. His mother was a well-known singer. His father was a composer and cultural producer. For Dimash, music was more than a discovery. It was a language spoken at the dinner table. He was winning competitions before most kids could write full sentences. Conservatories refined his skill, but even early on, he was preparing for a mission to push the limits of what a human voice could do. And then came his global breakout, Singer 2017, the Chinese reality show where he performed SOS d'un terrien en détresse and instantly became a sensation. The video spread like fire with clips of him soaring through octaves while audiences stared with mouths open. He basically performed a kind of vocal physics. And suddenly Dimash became more than just an artist. He was now a phenomenon. Fans were hooked, but in quieter corners of the internet, forums, Reddit threads, critic circles, something else was happening. A pattern of polite skepticism began to emerge. The range is amazing, one user wrote, but where's the emotional pull? Another added, he's the Michael Bay of vocalists. All spectacle, not much soul. When you can do what no one else can, does that make you transcendent or untouchable? Some listeners began to feel distanced from the performances. Every clip is vocal gymnastics, one Redditor said. It's technically brilliant, but emotionally exhausting. Others raised suspicions. Was every high note truly let in? Were some of the legendary belts assisted by production magic? Some even accused Dimash of auto-tune or lip-syncing during performances. Claims that were mostly unproven, but persistent enough to fuel discussion. Then came his controversial appearance on The World's Best, a US talent show meant to bring global artists to American primetime. Dimash's performances wowed judges briefly. Then came confusing criticism about connecting more and a weirdly abrupt disqualification. Rumors swirled that he walked off in protest, not wanting to compete against children. Fans were furious, critics were split, and Dimash, just silent. His fans, who were lovingly called dears, are among the most fiercely loyal in the music world. He's the best voice you'll ever hear, wrote one. Once in a generation, said another. But that loyalty has a double edge. Even gentle criticism can spark backlash. One Reddit user admitted, I got flamed just for saying a performance felt too flashy. In trying to defend him, some fans may be reinforcing the pressure to remain flawless always. What happens when your audience doesn't allow you to grow, only to maintain the miracle? There's also the geopolitical side of Dimash's fame. In Kazakhstan, he's more than a star. He's a symbol, cultural ambassador, and source of national pride. During the 2022 protests, he scrubbed much of his Instagram feed, choosing not to comment publicly. Some saw this as respect, others saw it as silence. Either way, it hinted at a deeper pressure. When your voice represents more than just your music, can you still speak freely? Still, what sets Dimash apart from other vocal prodigies is that he's not a manufactured pop product. He writes his own music and he sings in over a dozen languages. He's turned down major label contracts to stay independent. Igor Krutoy, a longtime collaborator and composer, once called him a once-in-a-lifetime voice. Together, they've sold out arenas and made records that fuse classical with contemporary. But even brilliance has its cracks. Some trained ears criticize his lower register, calling it nasal or too breathy. Others say that his pitch can waver in a cappella settings, especially in live, stripped-down performances. It's a reminder that no matter how extraordinary, Dimash is still human, and maybe that's what makes the expectations feel even heavier. The biggest concern, though, might be his vocal health. Constant belting, sky-high notes, and superhuman control. It's thrilling, yes, but physically demanding. Some fans have begun to echo a common fear. Are we watching another Callus or Carey, whose dazzling early careers were followed by tragic vocal decline? He's a treasure, one said. Let's not burn him out. From mastery to vulnerability, Dimash now stands at a crossroads. His newer performances, smaller venues, quieter songs, collaborations suggest a shift. Maybe less flash or maybe more soul, but is this evolution or branding? Maturity or market repositioning? Sometimes what draws people in is also what keeps them emotionally distant. Dimash's voice can move mountains, but can it move hearts the same way? There's a moment in every performance where you're watching a godlike display, and yet it's hard to know who Dimash really is behind the curtain. And then there's the culture around him. With fans expecting flawlessness, how does an artist make space to fail, to explore, to grow? The adoration becomes a trap. Say less, show less, be perfect, and beneath all that love is a man being frozen in time by the very people who admire him. At home, he's a symbol, and globally he's a phenomenon. But what if he wants to just be an artist? That's what makes his future so fascinating. Dimash is still young, is still searching, and there are signs, smaller phrasing, gentler tones, emotional restraint, that he's trying to carve out something deeper than wow factor. Something lasting and something that is more human. What good is reaching the heavens if no one can feel the echo back on earth? Maybe that's the heart of it. Dimash represents our obsession with perfection. He makes us question whether greatness is always loud, high, or stunning, or whether it can also be biased, strange, unfinished. Because music just transcends the notes and makes us move more towards what the note leaves behind. In recent performances of songs like Adagio or Ave Maria, we've seen him lean into that nuance. Less spectacle and more space. It's as if he's trying to remind us that just because you can do everything doesn't mean you should. And maybe that's where the real brilliance begins. But there's something else you sense quietly. Underneath all of it, there is loneliness. Not personal necessarily, but the kind that follows someone constantly praised for being exceptional. When you're placed so far above everyone else, who stands beside you? Who challenges you without fearing your fan base? For all the applause, it's hard not to wonder if Dimash sometimes wishes someone would stop clapping and just ask if he's okay. Because control, vocal or otherwise, comes at a price. Dimash commands his instrument with precision few can match. But emotional vulnerability is about surrender, not about control. And that might be the next threshold for him. Not another octave, not another viral clip, but the bravery to sound a little broken or a little unsure. That's where true artistry often begins, not in flawlessness, but in the spaces between. Maybe the real test for Dimash isn't whether he can reach new heights, but whether the world will let him come down. Whether we, as listeners, can learn to embrace the quiet songs, the imperfect performances, the moments where he chooses emotion over acrobatics. Because if we keep demanding miracles, we may never see the man beneath the myth. Because long after the final note fades, the real question isn't how high he can go, but how deep he's willing to take us.